Odin was the king of the Aesir tribe, a god of both war and land, as well as the god of the sky, wisdom, poetry, and magic. He was a shamanic figure, and despite being a Viking, was often considered to have effeminate qualities, which embarrassed the Viking warriors who preferred his masculine side. The most striking feature of his appearance is his single piercing eye. The sacrifice of his once intact eye was a gift from Odin to the inhabitants of Midgard, or those who would benefit from them, offering them the wisdom of the runic alphabet. This sacrifice demonstrates his determination in the pursuit of knowledge. Odin often appeared as the leader of the wild hunt, a ghostly procession of the dead in the winter sky. He rode an 8-legged horse and, with his ravens and wolves, would bring back information about everything happening in the world. Another of Odin's names, Wotan, is the origin of the name Wednesday, which is astrologically linked to the planet Mercury. In his fantasy novel Anansi Boys, Neil Gaiman writes about Anansi the spider, adding the note, "The world may be the same world, but the wallpaper changes, doesn't it? The story of people is still the same. They are born, they do things, and they die, but the story now has a different meaning than it used." Anansi, the spider trickster, is a cunning hero and storyteller in West African mythology. One day, he decided to gather all the world's wisdom into a single pot. He tied the pot to his front and began to climb a tree to hide it where no one could find it. However, he struggled to climb the tree, constantly bumping into the pot. His son, who was following him, suggested he tie the pot to his back to make the climb easier. Anansi listened to his son's advice, but unfortunately the pot slipped, fell to the ground, and shattered. The wisdom spilled out, and a sudden rainstorm washed it into the river, and then into the ocean. This is how everyone in the world came to possess a little bit of Anansi's wisdom. All the gods of Olympus were invited to the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, except for Eris, the goddess of strife. Angered, Eris decided to teach the assembled Olympians a lesson. She threw a golden apple among them with the words for the fairest written on it. 3 goddesses: Hera, the goddess of the home; Athena, the goddess of skill; and Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, grabbed the apple and fought over it. No god, not even Zeus, dared to decide which of the 3 goddesses was worthy of the apple. Finally, they were told to go to Paris, the Prince of Troy, who was known for his understanding of female beauty and his fair judgment. The 3 goddesses presented themselves to Paris and tried to impress him with their beauty. Unable to decide, each of them secretly tried to bribe him. Hera promised to make him the ruler of the greatest kingdom in the world. Athena promised to make him the most admired warrior in the world. And Aphrodite promised him the hand of Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. It turns out gang wars are older than we thought. There were 2 sisters who hated each other. Inanna, who ruled the world of the living, and Ereshkigal, who ruled the underworld of the dead. Inanna decided to visit the underworld, perhaps intending to conquer it. Before leaving, Inanna instructed her minister, Ninshubur, to plead with the gods Enlil, Nanna, and Enki to rescue her if anything went wrong. She had dressed meticulously for the visit, but her clothing, which was inappropriate for a funeral, along with her arrogant behavior, made the queen of the underworld suspicious. Following Ereshkigal's instructions, the keeper told Inanna that she could enter the first gate of the underworld, but she had to give up a piece of clothing. When she asked why, she was told, "This is the way of the underworld." Having no choice, Inanna passed through a total of 7 gates, removing and giving up a piece of her clothing and jewelry each time. When she finally came before her sister, she was completely naked and defenseless. Ereshkigal turned Inanna into a corpse and hung her on a hook. 3 days and 3 nights passed, and Ninshubur followed the instructions, going to the temples of Enlil, Nanna, and Enki, asking them to save the goddess of life, love, and light. The first 2 gods refused, saying it was her own mess, but Enki was deeply disturbed and agreed to help. He created 2 genderless figures, neither male nor female. He instructed them to appease Ereshkigal, and when she asked what they wanted, to ask for Inanna's corpse and offer her food and water of life. Things went as Enki said, and the 2 genderless beings were able to revive Inanna. However, Ereshkigal's demons brought Inanna out of the underworld and told her she wasn't free to go until someone took her place. First, they came to Ninshubur and asked him to take Inanna's place. Inanna refused, saying he helped her as she wished. Then they met Inanna's husband, Dumuzi. He was celebrating even though his wife was still missing in the underworld. Inanna was not happy and said the demons could take him. Dumuzi tried to escape his fate, but a fly told Inanna and the demons where he was. It was then decided that Dumuzi would spend half the year with Ereshkigal in the underworld and the other half with Inanna. God created the world from nothing in 6 days and rested on the seventh. He created the first man, Adam, in his own image, and the first woman, Eve, from Adam's rib. He told Adam and Eve to enjoy the wonderful Garden of Eden, but not to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. This was the forbidden fruit. Adam and Eve obeyed God, but the devil, in the form of a snake, charmed Eve and made her take a bite of the forbidden fruit. She then convinced Adam to eat it too. Suddenly, their innocence was gone. The humans became aware of their nakedness and tried to cover themselves. God was disappointed with his creation and cast them out of paradise for this first act of disobedience, this original sin. In various Jewish, Christian, and Islamic schools of thought, the details of this story differ. Jewish folklore identifies the fruit as a pomegranate. Christian folklore identifies it as an apple. In Arab folklore, it is a banana, as they equate India with its silks and spices to the land of paradise. While original sin is a key theme in Christian mythology, in Islamic mythology, Allah forgives Adam and Eve, and there is no concept of original sin or carrying sins to the next generation. Why is the older brother always right? Maui was the 5th child of Taranga. Some say he was stillborn, others that he was born early and was a carrier of bad luck. So his mother wrapped him in a topknot of her hair and threw him into the sea. The ocean spirits found the child, revived him, wrapped him in seaweed, and gave him into the care of his sky father, Rangi, who took him to the celestial realms and nourished him until he reached adolescence. One day, Maui found his mother's topknot, and recognizing it, decided to descend from his stepfather's celestial world and search for her in the human world. But he never quite felt he belonged in either his mother Taranga's world or his stepfather Rangi's world. Maui realized that time in the world was too short to get things done. With the help of his brothers, he caught the sun with a lasso and beat it violently with his jawbone staff until it promised to go slower in the future. Maui then used the blood from his nose as bait to pull a large island hidden under the sea in the shape of a fish. When Maui emerged from the water, he went to find a priest to perform the proper rituals and prayers, leaving his brothers in charge of the fish. They did not wait for Maui to return and began to cut the fish, causing it to immediately writhe in agony and break into mountains, rocks, and valleys. If the brothers had listened to Maui, the island would have been a flat plain and people could have traveled easily. It is an ancient story of sibling jealousy and betrayal. In the beginning, there was nothing but the waters of Nu, just as the land that emerges when the Nile's waters recede, from which the first pyramid-like mound emerged. Atum stood on this mound, creating the god of air, Shu, and the goddess of moisture, Tefnut, who in turn produced the earth god Geb, and the sky goddess Nut, who produced Isis and the first queen and king, Osiris, who brought human civilization. Atum is sometimes described as masculine because he masturbated to create his children, but he is also referred to as the Great Woman, as he accepted the hermaphroditic nature of life before the coming of two genders. Osiris became the first king of the Nile Valley and established a great kingdom, but his brother, Seth, the lord of the desert, grew jealous. He invited Osiris to a feast and then showed him a box. "Is the box smaller or bigger than you?" Seth asked innocently. Osiris wasn't sure, so Seth asked him to lie in the box and check. Without suspicion, Osiris entered the box. Seth immediately sealed the box and buried Osiris alive. He later cut his body into small pieces and threw them into the Nile. Isis searched for and reassembled her husband's scattered parts. She then used her magic to revive her husband long enough to give her a child, who was named Horus, the true heir of Osiris. However, Horus had to fight Seth to establish his superiority. A bloody story of how life was created in the oceans. Sedna, a beautiful young woman, was constantly being pressured by her widowed father to marry. Sedna would reject many suitors her father found. One day, a seabird convinced her to come to his comfortable, luxurious home. Captivated by the bird's magic, Sedna ran away with him. A short time later, the comfortable, luxurious home turned into a foul-smelling nest. Day by day, her new husband treated her like a slave and tormented her. Sedna pleaded with her father to come and take her home. Her father set out to take Sedna home, but as they crossed the waters, a flock of seabirds surrounded the boat. Their constant flapping caused a great storm, and their small boat was tossed from side to side. Fearing for his own safety, Sedna's father threw her into the ocean to appease the angry birds. When Sedna tried to return to the boat, he cut off her fingers. As she struggled to use her mutilated hands to try again, he cut off her hands this time and threw her back into the water. As she sank to the bottom of the ocean, her severed limbs turned into fish, seals, whales, and all the other sea mammals. Tiamat was the great mother of all the gods. All her children lived inside her body. Everything was fine until the children started causing problems. The old gods demanded the destruction of the new gods. The first time this happened, Tiamat warned her children. The second time, Tiamat ordered her consort to destroy the new gods. The new gods gathered around Marduk, who, after a fierce battle, defeated Tiamat and her consort and all the old gods who were with them. Marduk created the world and the sky from Tiamat's body. Tiamat's tears became the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Her consort's blood mixed with the red earth, and from it, humanity was created. As descendants of the old gods, humanity was forever bound to serve the new gods. Because the new gods were not served, floods and storms arose.